Negative thinking is the silent killer in business, life, and wealth creation. It is not loud, dramatic, or obvious, but it works quietly, systematically undermining every decision, every opportunity, and every step you take towards success. While people spend countless hours chasing external advantages, better education, more money, connections, or luck, the true difference between those who succeed and those who fail is how they manage the battlefield of their own mind. Negative thinking creates hesitation, paralysis, and self-doubt, all of which are far more costly than any market failure, competitor, or economic downturn. Most people believe that negative thoughts are harmless or even realistic. They tell themselves, I'm just being cautious, or I'm just thinking logically about risks. That is a lie. Negative thinking always comes from fear, not reason. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of losing, and fear of the unknown all hide under the mask of logic. The more you entertain these thoughts, the stronger they grow and the more power they take over your decisions. The problem is not opportunity, it is that your mind convinces you that opportunity is too dangerous. And when your mind controls you, your results will always be average, delayed, or completely lost. The cost of negative thinking shows up first in hesitation. When an opportunity arises, a negative thinker pauses. They debate, they overanalyze, they wait for perfect conditions. Meanwhile, the person who kills negative thinking moves immediately. Speed of action matters more than perfect information in business. Opportunity rewards decisiveness. Those who hesitate watch competitors seize the prize while their internal doubts validate their own inaction. Negative thinking convinces you that waiting is safe, but waiting is death in disguise. Every second lost to hesitation compounds into misdeals, lost revenue, and shrinking influence. Fear of failure is the most insidious form of negative thinking. Most people avoid action because they imagine the worst case scenario and assume it will happen to them. They imagine rejection, loss, embarrassment, or public failure. The truth is failure is unavoidable if you aim high, but it is not fatal. Those who succeed understand that failure is a teacher, a step in the process, and a test of endurance. Negative thinkers treat failure as a verdict rather than a lesson. They allow fear to dominate their reasoning, and in doing so, block the path to growth. Every opportunity avoided to avoid potential failure is a small death of potential. Negative thinking also corrodes confidence. Every time you give way to doubt, you weaken your self-belief. Self-doubt becomes a feedback loop. The more you think negatively, the less you act. The less you act, the more your mind reinforces that you are incapable. Over time, this pattern conditions your brain to believe in limitation. That is the true cost of negative thinking. It not only blocks action in the moment, but permanently. It reduces your ability to trust yourself, take risks, and seize future opportunities. One of the most destructive aspects of negative thinking is its invisibility. It often masquerades as realism, preparation, or caution. People say, I just need more time, or I'm being careful. They do not realize that negative thinking is already influencing their behavior. This mental sabotage prevents execution, and execution is the ultimate currency in business. Ideas, talent, and strategy mean nothing without action. Negative thinking ensures you never get to action. It convinces you that the problem is external while the real problem is inside your head. The environment amplifies negative thinking. Surround yourself with pessimists, critics, and small-minded individuals, and their doubt will feed your own. Negative thinking becomes normalized, making hesitation, fear, and inaction feel safe. Conversely, those who kill negative thinking surround themselves with winners, doers, and people who act decisively. Positive, action-oriented minds reinforce courage, focus, and clarity. Mental control is not just about shutting out fear, it is about choosing allies for your brain and life. Execution is the weapon against negative thinking. Action disrupts doubt. When you move, momentum replaces hesitation. Every completed task, every decision, every step forward weakens the hold of fear and internal criticism. Negative thinking thrives in the absence of action. It grows when the mind has time to dwell, analyze, and imagine failure. Every second spent in contemplation without execution strengthens the internal narrative of limitation. Acting decisively silences this narrative and rewires your mind to expect results, not excuses. Negative thinking also influences perception. It changes how you interpret challenges. Problem appears insurmountable when fear controls your mind, but the same problem becomes an opportunity when approached with clarity and courage. Negative thinkers see obstacles as threats, while decisive thinkers see them as leverage points. The world doesn't change. Your perception does. That perception determines whether you shrink or expand, fail, or dominate. Finally, negative thinking affects long-term outcomes. A single moment of doubt may seem trivial, but repeated over days, months, and years, it defines your trajectory. Every avoided opportunity, every delayed decision, and every moment of hesitation compounds into stagnation. Negative thinking does not just rob you of immediate success. It erodes your potential, limits your influence, and guarantees regret. Those who succeed are not fearless, they are disciplined. They see fear, doubt, and negative thoughts, and they act anyway. They kill the negative thinking before it kills their results. In reality, negative thinking is optional. Every thought that doubts your ability, questions your worth, or warns against risk can be challenged and destroyed. You control your mind, and your mind controls your results. Kill negative thinking and you remove the invisible chains holding back your wealth, your success, and your life. Live with it, and it will quietly decide your future for you, keeping you small while the world rewards the bold, the decisive, and the relentless. Excuses are the silent assassins of success. They masquerade as explanations, reasons, or justifications, but in reality, they are the products of a weak mind unwilling to act. Every time you tell yourself, I can't because, or I'm waiting for the right moment, you are surrendering control to circumstances, fear, and external events. Excuses are comfort disguised as wisdom. They make you feel safe in the short term, but they guarantee failure in the long term. In business and life, comfort is the enemy of growth. Wealth, influence, and achievement demand discomfort, sacrifice, and relentless action. Excuses exist to keep you small while others move forward. Most people think excuses protect them from failure. I couldn't act because I didn't have enough resources, or I was waiting for the perfect opportunity, or I didn't have time, are phrases that sound reasonable, but they are nothing more than fear in disguise. Every successful entrepreneur, investor, and high achiever you admire started with less than you have now. They acted before conditions were perfect, before they had full knowledge, and often before they felt ready. Excuses are the barrier that separates those who act from those who watch. Excuses are easy to make because they shift responsibility. They convince your mind that failure is not your fault, that external circumstances are in charge, and that life is happening to you rather than because of you. The person who lives by excuses never truly takes ownership. They blame the economy, the market, the timing, or other people for their lack of results. Ownership thinking, on the other hand, accepts full responsibility for outcomes, good or bad. This mindset shift is crucial because no amount of talent, knowledge, or opportunity will compensate for a mind that refuses responsibility. Excuses are mental laziness. Ownership is power. Excuses also erode consistency. Every time you choose an excuse over action, you reinforce a pattern of inaction. Over time, this creates a habit of avoidance. Tasks are delayed, opportunities are postponed, and momentum dies. Success is rarely about genius. It is about repeated, disciplined action. Excuses break the chain of execution before results have a chance to accumulate. Those who succeed understand that consistency and execution matter more than ideas or talent. Excuses ensure that neither can develop. The cost of excuses is magnified by time. Small delays today compound into larger regrets tomorrow. A single "I'll wait until I feel ready" can turn into years of missed opportunity. The market does not pause for your comfort, and neither do competitors. While you are negotiating with fear and rationalizing an action, someone else is moving, learning, and capturing what could have been yours. Excuses create invisible losses that accumulate silently until the gap between you and high achievers becomes insurmountable. Excuses also sabotage confidence. Every time you justify an action, your brain receives feedback that reinforces limitation. I can't become self-fulfilling. The more you explain why something is impossible, the more your mind believes it. This internal narrative shapes perception, decision-making, and future behavior. Over time, your identity becomes one of avoidance, hesitation, and mediocrity. In contrast, action, even imperfect action, strengthens self-belief. Discipline and execution replace doubt with confidence, and confidence attracts opportunities that excuses repel. In business, excuses are costly. Every deal missed, every opportunity passed up, and every moment delayed reduces revenue, growth, and influence. Excuses waste resources not just because of lost income, but because energy is spent rationalizing rather than executing. Meetings, planning sessions, and overthinking are often excuses masquerading as preparation. Time and energy invested in justifying hesitation could have been invested in action that produces measurable results. Excuses also erode relationships and credibility. Partners, investors, employees, and clients notice patterns of delay, avoidance, and rationalization. People may tolerate mistakes occasionally, but repeated excuses signal unreliability. Over time, trust erodes. Credibility once lost is extremely difficult to rebuild. Execution builds trust and excuses destroy it. High performers understand this principle. They know that results are the ultimate proof of reliability, and excuses have no place in that equation. Excuses also reinforce fear. Every excuse is a way to avoid discomfort. Whether it is fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of stepping outside comfort zones, excuses give temporary relief. But relief comes at a massive cost. Every time fear is allowed to dictate action, it grows stronger. Fear thrives when an action is rationalized. Courage, however, is built through repeated action in the face of fear. Every time you act despite discomfort, the power of fear and the excuses that accompany it diminishes. The antidote to excuses is discipline and ownership. You must train your mind to see excuses for what they are, barriers to action and success. Replace "I can't" with "how can I make this happen?" Shift focus from limitations to solution. Execute relentlessly, even when conditions are imperfect. High performers understand that execution trumps perfect planning every time. Excuses are a crutch for weak thinking. Action is the weapon of winners. Ultimately, excuses are comfort disguised as justification. They provide temporary relief while ensuring permanent limitation. They allow the mind to stay small, safe, and unchallenged while the world moves forward without you. Those who refuse excuses, who take responsibility, who act decisively in the face of discomfort, create compounding momentum. Wealth, influence, and achievement flow toward those who act, not those who rationalize. Kill the habit of excuses, and you kill the barrier between you and extraordinary results. Hesitation is one of the most destructive habits a person can develop in business, wealth creation, or personal growth. It masquerades as prudence, careful planning, or caution, but in reality, hesitation is fear disguised as reason. Every moment you delay a decision, question your ability, or wait for the perfect circumstances, you are surrendering power to uncertainty and giving an advantage to those willing to act. Hesitation costs more than failure because failure can be recovered from, but missed opportunity often cannot. Opportunities are fleeting, markets move quickly, and competitors act while you debate. Hesitation allows the world to pass by while your mind convinces you to stay small and safe. The human brain is wired to avoid pain and discomfort, which makes hesitation a natural response to risk or uncertainty. When faced with an important decision, the mind overanalyzes, imagines worst-case scenarios, and predicts failure. These imagined outcomes feel real, and for the hesitant thinker, They become justification for inaction. While it feels safe to wait, the truth is that waiting guarantees nothing. Every second spent hesitating is a second competitor sees advantage. Hesitation does not protect you from risk, it amplifies the cost of inaction. Hesitation also erodes confidence. Every time you delay a decision, you reinforce self-doubt. I'm not ready, I need more information. Or maybe later becomes a repeated mantra that shapes your identity. Over time, the mind internalizes the belief that you are incapable of decisive action, creating a feedback loop where hesitation becomes habitual. This mental pattern limits opportunity. Confidence is necessary for risk-taking, negotiation, and leadership. Hesitant individuals often miss opportunities they are fully capable of handling simply because their own mind tells them to wait. In business, hesitation is a silent killer of revenue, growth, and influence. Deals slip away because someone else acted first. Investors or partners lose confidence when leaders cannot make timely decisions. Projects stall, teams lose momentum, and opportunities are lost forever. Markets reward speed, execution, and decisiveness. Even imperfect action is more valuable than delayed perfection. Hesitation ensures that potential results are delayed, diminished, or lost entirely. It does not matter how brilliant the idea or capable the person is if hesitation dominates. Results will be mediocre. Hesitation also multiplies risk rather than reducing it. The person who hesitates may believe they are avoiding mistakes, but in reality, delaying exposes them to missed opportunities, increased competition, and shifting conditions. Markets evolve, conditions change, and opportunities that were viable yesterday may no longer exist tomorrow. Hesitation allows external factors to dictate outcomes rather than your deliberate action. By the time the hesitant person decides to act, the situation has changed, and what could have been a controlled risk becomes a forced compromise. Fear is always at the core of hesitation. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss, and fear of stepping outside comfort zones all manifest as delayed action. While fear is natural, it must never control behavior. Those who succeed are not fearless, they simply act despite fear. Acting in the presence of fear trains the mind to prioritize results over comfort. Hesitation, by contrast, strengthens fear. Every delayed action reinforces the message that discomfort is dangerous, creating a cycle where fear dictates future choices. Hesitation also weakens leadership. Leaders who cannot make timely decisions appear indecisive, causing teams to lose confidence. Employees mirror the energy of their leaders. When hesitation dominates, uncertainty spreads. A hesitant leader slows progress, creates confusion, and reduces the organization's capacity to respond to challenges. Strong leaders make decisions, communicate them clearly, and adjust as needed. Hesitation in leadership is not just personal, it ripples through the organization, reducing efficiency, trust, and momentum. Another consequence of hesitation is that it diminishes learning. Every action, even one that fails, provides feedback, insight, and growth. Hesitation delays learning because decisions are postponed. By the time action occurs, the window for optimal learning has passed. Hesitant individuals often feel unprepared because they lack experience, but they lack experience because they hesitated. The cycle reinforces itself. Hesitation prevents action, and lack of action prevents growth, leaving potential unrealized. Breaking the habit of hesitation requires mental discipline, decisiveness, and courage. You must train your mind to act despite discomfort, uncertainty, and fear. Perfect information is rarely available, and waiting for it is an illusion. Execution trumps analysis paralysis every time. The world rewards action, and opportunity favors those willing to move first, adapt quickly, and refine along the way. Hesitation removes control from your hands and gives it to circumstance. Discipline restores it. Momentum is the antidote to hesitation, and once action begins, doubt loses its power. Movement produces clarity, reduces fear, and builds confidence. The first step, no matter how small, breaks the mental inertia that keeps hesitant thinkers trapped. Repeated decisive action rewires the brain to prioritize results over comfort, courage over fear, and execution over doubt. The habit of acting decisively compounds over time, producing opportunities, learning, and wealth that hesitation could never achieve. Ultimately, hesitation is a decision itself, the decision to let fear rule, to give up control, and to allow opportunity to slip away. It is invisible, often rationalized, but deadly to success. The world does not reward those who wait for perfect conditions. It rewards those who act, adjust, and persist. Kill hesitation by training your mind to move quickly, decisively, and courageously. Do not wait. Do not debate endlessly. Do not allow fear to delay execution. Every moment of action strengthens your control over results, and every moment of hesitation strengthens the hold of doubt. Your future, your wealth, and your life depend on decisiveness, because hesitation is the enemy of everything you want to achieve. Momentum is the most powerful antidote to doubt, because doubt survives in stillness. When nothing is happening, the mind fills the silence with fear, overthinking, and worst-case scenarios. Doubt does not need evidence, it only needs time. The longer you pause, the louder the internal noise becomes. Momentum interrupts that cycle. Action creates movement, and movement shuts down the endless internal debate that keeps people stuck. You don't defeat doubt by arguing with it in your head, you defeat it by moving forward before it has time to grow roots. Most people believe they need confidence before taking action, but confidence is not the cause of momentum, it is the result of it. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. Readiness is built through execution, not thinking. When you take action, even imperfect action, your brain receives proof that you are capable of moving despite uncertainty. That proof weakens doubt immediately. Momentum doesn't require massive wins at the start. It only requires consistent movement in the right direction. Small actions stack, and each step forward makes the next step easier. Doubt thrives on unanswered questions and imagined failures. When you act, questions get answered through real-world feedback. You replace assumptions with data. Instead of guessing what might go wrong, you learn what actually works. This process shifts the mind from fear-based thinking to problem-solving mode. Momentum forces the brain to focus on execution rather than speculation. Once your attention is occupied with doing, doubt loses oxygen. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what's the next move? In business, momentum separates leaders from talkers. The marketplace does not reward intentions, it rewards execution. Entrepreneurs who hesitate give doubt time to sabotage their decisions. Those who move quickly, even when uncertain, gain market insight, customer feedback, and positioning advantages. Momentum compounds in business just like money compounds in investing. The first deal leads to the second. The first decision sharpens judgment for the next. Each action builds clarity, and clarity accelerates momentum further. Doubt, by contrast, keeps you stuck at zero where nothing compounds. Momentum also reshapes identity. When you repeatedly take action, you stop seeing yourself as someone who plans and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. Identity matters because the mind works to stay consistent with how you see yourself. An action-oriented identity naturally resists doubt. Even when fear appears, your default response becomes movement, not paralysis. Over time, acting becomes automatic. You no longer debate whether to move, you move and adjust along the way. One of the most dangerous lies people believe is that hesitation reduces risk. In reality, hesitation increases it. Markets change, opportunities expire, and competitors advance. Momentum reduces risk by keeping you adaptive. When you are moving, you can pivot. When you are still, you are vulnerable. Doubt convinces you that waiting keeps you safe, but safety is an illusion in a fast-moving world. Momentum keeps you relevant, informed, and in control. Momentum also creates emotional strength. Each completed task, decision, or executed plan sends a signal of competence to the brain. That signal builds resilience. When challenges arise, you trust your ability to handle them because you've handled things before. Doubt weakens when it encounters evidence of past action. The mind cannot easily argue against proof. Every executed decision becomes proof that you can move forward again. Importantly, momentum does not mean reckless action. It means decisive action followed by adjustment. Momentum is intelligent movement, not blind speed. You act, observe results, refine, and act again. This cycle is far more powerful than endless planning. Planning without execution feeds doubt because nothing tangible happens. Execution, even when imperfect, creates reality. Reality is easier to work with than imagination because imagination tends to exaggerate risk and minimize capability. Momentum also affects how others perceive you. Investors, partners, employees, and clients respond to decisiveness. People trust those who move with purpose. Momentum signals leadership. Doubt signals uncertainty, and uncertainty repels opportunity. When you act consistently, opportunities begin to find you because people want to align with movers, not observers. Momentum attracts resources while hesitation repels them. Another overlooked aspect of momentum is how it compresses time. Years of overthinking can be replaced by months of decisive action. Many people overestimate what they can think through and underestimate what they can accomplish through execution. Momentum accelerates learning, growth, and results. It turns theory into practice and potential into outcomes. Doubt, on the other hand, stretches time endlessly, keeping people stuck in the same mental loop for years. Momentum must be built deliberately. It starts with a decision to move regardless of emotional state. You act tired, you act uncertain, you act without guarantees. Waiting for motivation or confidence gives doubt control. Acting despite how you feel takes that control back. Once momentum starts, it becomes easier to maintain than to stop. The hardest part is the first step, because that is where doubt is strongest. Ultimately, momentum is power. It is the force that turns intention into results and fear into fuel. Doubt cannot survive sustained action. It fades when confronted with movement, evidence, and progress. The more you move, the quieter doubt becomes. The faster you act, the less control fear has. Momentum is not just a tool, it is a weapon. Use it relentlessly, because nothing destroys doubt faster than forward motion. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your most dangerous enemy, and the difference comes down to control. Just like an army without leadership becomes chaotic, undisciplined, and weak, a mind without command drifts toward fear, excuses, and negative thinking. People like to believe their thoughts are harmless, but thoughts shape decisions, decisions shape actions, and actions shape results. If you do not deliberately control your mind, it will default to comfort, avoidance, and self-doubt. Discipline of the mind is not optional for success, it is mandatory. A commander does not allow soldiers to act on emotion, panic, or impulse. Orders are clear, structures enforced, and discipline is non-negotiable. Your mind requires the same structure. Most people allow random thoughts to come and go without challenge. A single negative thought can sit there unchecked, grow stronger, and eventually dictate behavior. I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, or this is too risky become internal commands, even though they were never questioned. Mental control begins with recognizing that thoughts are not facts. They are inputs, and inputs must be evaluated before they are obeyed. An undisciplined mind reacts to circumstances. A controlled mind responds with intention. When pressure hits, the average person panics internally. Fear takes over, emotions spike, and decision-making collapses. A commander-trained mind stays calm under pressure because it has rehearsed discipline. It knows that panic creates mistakes. Instead of reacting emotionally, it assesses the situation, identifies the objective, and takes decisive action. This mental posture separates leaders from followers and winners from excuses. Control also means deciding what thoughts are allowed to stay. Just like a commander removes weak or disobedient soldiers from a unit, you must eliminate thoughts that sabotage performance. Negative thinking does not deserve endless attention. Doubt, fear, and insecurity should be acknowledged and dismissed, not entertained. The mistake most people make is negotiating with negative thoughts, hoping to reason with them. That only gives them more power. Strong minds replace weak thoughts immediately with commands focused on action and results. Mental control is built through repetition, not motivation. Commander does not give motivational speeches before every order. Discipline is trained daily until it becomes automatic. The same applies to the mind. You train it through consistent habits, structured routines, clear goals, and immediate action. When your mind learns that action follows thought every time, it stops wasting energy on hesitation. Over time, discipline replaces doubt. The mind becomes conditioned to move forward regardless of emotional state. Another critical aspect of mental command is focus. An army scattered across multiple fronts without coordination loses battles. Similarly, a mind distracted by comparison, noise, and external opinions loses direction. Controlling your mind means choosing what deserves attention and what does not. Social media, gossip, and comparison weaken mental authority. A commander-focused mind concentrates on mission, execution, and progress. Focus is power because attention fuels outcomes. Whatever you allow to dominate your thoughts will dominate your results. Self-talk is another battlefield. The language used internally shapes behavior. A weak commander uses vague, uncertain language. A strong commander gives clear, decisive orders. Saying "I'll try" is not a command. Saying "I will execute" is. Strong self-talk is firm, direct, and outcome-focused. It does not beg or doubt. It instructs. When the mind hears clear commands repeatedly, it aligns behavior accordingly. Over time, confidence grows not because fear disappears, but because authority increases. Emotional discipline is also part of mental control. Emotions are information, not leadership. Letting emotions drive decisions is like letting soldiers vote on strategy mid-battle. Fear, frustration, or excitement can cloud judgment. A controlled mind acknowledges emotions without surrendering authority to them. You feel fear, but you act anyway. You feel discomfort, but you execute anyway. Emotional mastery is not suppression, it is regulation. The commander stays in charge even when the battlefield gets chaotic. Mental control also demands responsibility. A commander never blames soldiers, weather, or terrain for failure. They take responsibility and adjust strategy. Similarly, controlling your mind means eliminating blame. Blame weakens authority because it shifts power outward. Responsibility strengthens control because it reinforces the belief that outcomes can be influenced through action. When your mind accepts full responsibility, it stops making excuses and starts finding solutions. Over time, commanding your mind changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes things work out and start seeing yourself as someone who makes things happen. That identity shift is powerful because identity drives consistency. Once mental discipline becomes part of who you are, negative thinking struggles to survive. It may appear, but it no longer controls behavior. The commander remains in charge. Ultimately, success is not about intelligence, talent, or luck. It is about control. Control of thoughts, focus, emotions, and actions. When you command your mind with discipline, clarity, and authority, negative thinking loses its grip. You stop reacting and start leading your own life. Just like an army follows a strong commander into battle, your actions will follow a disciplined mind into results.